Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending the meeting this morning. Our Chair, Councillor Howard, is an apology today. So under Standing Order 5.6, we need to elect a temporary chairperson for today. So I'd like to ask for nominations for chairperson, please.
I'd like to nominate Craig Gibson.
I'd nominate Rachel, because she's here often.
Would you still like to nominate Mayor Jepson?
No, I'll withdraw that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second Rachel. Yeah.
So moved by Bill, seconded by the Mayor. And are there any objections to Councillor Williams becoming chair? No? Okay. All right. Councillor.
Oh, we have to hope to accept that, don't
Yes, you've got apologies.
we? Okay, so the meeting's not getting open.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll move to 1.2, apologies. I believe we've received apologies from Ron Manderson.
Yeah.
Marianne, and the seconder. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to 1.3, confirmation of agenda. Have a mover, please.
I'll move that.
And a second. A conflict of interest declaration 1.4. Committee members are reminded of the need to be vigilant to stand aside from decision making when conflict arises between their role as committee members and any private or other external interests they might have. Are there any conflicts to declare this morning? Okay, I can, we don't need to move. 10th October 2025. I can move that. Do we have a seconder?
I can second that.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay. So, all in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so we will move on to 3, Mangawhai Community Park Governance. Glynis McCarthy and Jenny Rooney. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so can I have a mover for this item, which is noting the operations and project team update, February 2025? You can present to us now and then we can ask some questions.
Good morning, and through the chair, I take it the report has been read, and perhaps we can open if anyone has any questions about any of the information that we've supplied.
I did send through some.
Would you like me to start with those?
Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So with regards to reinstating the rubbish bins, the question was asked, are we looking to bought quite some time ago, and we have in our yard with our contractor, and they've been modified. So they have a big wheelie bin that sits underneath them, and there is a stainless steel outing, which is now getting a sort of a pattern put on it on the colours of the Mangawhai Community Park and KDC, and has a small slot that sits around the outside of it. So they can't be sort of over, the wheelie bin lid can't kind of end up being pizza box to go into it.
Okay. And how many are you looking at?
So I've worked with Maz and we've agreed on 3.
3 bins.
Yes.
And I think Mayor's is quite happy that that's in progress.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess the frequency of those being emptied.
So we'll, to be honest, we'll look at that as they go in. At the moment, they're down to 1, and I appreciate that they get full quite frequently. That, you know, after big events or, you know, even after a weekend, there's often rubbish. So we're going to reinstate those bins that were taken out. They were taken out because they had started to erode and they were becoming a health and safety concern for people using them. And so I've worked internally with our own teams. And like I said, we're repurposing some that we have at no cost, other than getting some signage on the outside of them, which I think will
Often baby napkins,
And that-
refuse or even lying around, and they're going to do some Facebook education really to try and reduce that.
And I think over time, Maz are also looking at, again, looking to implement some form of waste minimisation strategy. However, I think there needs to be a balance, and I think this balance will be the one going forward. So this came about from some queries that came through on social media over the summer period. And so it's really just started as a conversation, both with Maz, with the water quality standards representative and with our own internal environmental health officer, looking at the feasibility of being able to reinstate those fountains. So previously, Maz was drawing fountains. And behind the toilet, we have a water tank, and the water is put into that water tank periodically. It goes through a UV system. It feeds the toilets. It also feeds a tap on 2 gas barbecues, two gas barbecues that are there. But there is the potential to add another water tank to increase the water supply, and without having to become very complicated. And then the type of equipment that we've got at the moment would suffice, and you would be able to reinstate those fountains. I'm now looking at the kind of the economic feasibility of being able to do that, because obviously it would mean getting another water tank, and then it would be about increasing the amount of that water is delivered to those tanks. The question that I have here is, could we take water from the little toilets that's there? Probably we wouldn't get a lot of water coming off that, so we wouldn't get enough for our requirements. And then by doing that, we're now going to have to go down at what is the most effective way of reinstating water to that area. And it will now simply come down to economics.
Can I ask you, do we have any idea how many people used the water fountains when they were in operation?
I haven't been able to find that information, no. And because they were pulling water from the bore, I'm not quite sure how we would kind of measure that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it as a big risk for council. I mean, just last
Cholera here in Mangawhai.
So my point, but with the cost of going down this road, or, you know, do people bring their own water bottles.
And
Are they doing that anyway?
yeah, and like I say, I only looked into this because it was raised and I was having conversations with Maz about it. So I've just looked it into a feasibility point of view. Yes, it can be done. The next phase of this is looking at, well, what's the economic cost of it?
I'd just really add that it is complicated, and we know now that the new water regulator is working with the council and there will be something resolved. There is also one at the heads, and in most instances, children or young people are using them quite a lot. And once you get water bottles, then kids try to share that, and then that's a very common way of spreading disease. So it's
representative for the Mangawhai Daring, and I take it that's for the Mangawhai Museum and the Daring, that partnership. Yes, that's me actually. So just so that you know, so I've been to one steering committee. Really, they were just talking about the signing of their document, but they will be likely to be meeting quarterly. So certainly I'll report on progress as it takes place.
That's good. So thank you, Glenys.
And then the next questions were and do we have contingencies built into each of the estimated works? Yes, there are. There's a 15% contingency for each of those estimations. Just with the retaining wall on the Flying Fox, we got 2 quotes for that. Our previous parks officer that was looking after this area had got a geotechnical report, and from there, our contractor was asked to get a quote through. I have looked at that area over a long period of time. There's been very little degradation. So having to do something that I think is very intense possibly isn't needed, because we just haven't seen the fall away from that embankment over time that perhaps warranted having something quite so, structurally strong and sound. I got another quote from a local provider who's going to use basically rocks and tested out. Pardon?
Yes, extra stability.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a special word for it, but I'm sorry, it just eludes me as to what it's called. However, I've had the premise of it tested out by our internal building team and also externally by our contractor, both of whom have said that that's a good sound approach. Again, we're not looking at having to stabilise that embankment entirely. What we're hoping to do seat that you sit on and the edge of the wall. So those will work. But like I say, all of those quotes have come in with a 15% contingency.
What sort of money are we talking about each one?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What total cost are we looking at?
So for the retaining wall, for the retaining wall and landscaping and backfill, we're looking at 21,058 with a 15% contingency in there. Any other questions?
Just a comment, the reference to Mertz Hut, we need to, following the consultation with the community, we're referring to that as the gum diggers / Mertz Hut. Okay. Just keep that consistent.
Through the chair too, if I could just add while we're on the Mertz Hut and the historic village, the chairperson of the yeah.
Thanks. Are there any other questions?
Just in relation to the contract for services, my understanding is that the contract with Mangawhai Tracks Charitable Trust doesn't have any financial consideration with it. It's like an agreement that they're doing what they're doing. Yeah. And in relation to Parawa Bandurban, body, the council, all of the entities with licences to occupy in the community park and additional volunteers, and have a major working bee weed control day twice a year, suggested end of March and beginning of October, where they would put a lot of resources. They would do a lot of the publicity around it and help coordinate a planned approach. Might possibly provide for major skip bins, and then other organisations provide barbecues and publicise it, and obviously we need to have supervisors for each area and so on, but it could turn into quite a valuable regular event with all the entities involved doing it on the same day. So I propose that we do encourage Conservation Trust to activate that.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good initiative.
And we'd be very keen to support that. Again, what we can do is try and organise if there needs to be any work that's done prior to you coming in, to get things ready so that they are relatively straightforward to weed, such as if there needed to be, that spraying window. So yeah, I'd be very keen to work with you, and our Parks Officer, Joanne McFarlane, she's here with us.
Fantastic, thanks for that.
Thank you, Dale.
Are there any more questions?
Just going back to that problem by the flying fox, has there been any discussion considering that it's not a high erosion area, it's basically holding its own, it's been doing that for quite a while?
It has.
The possibility of throwing some coconut mat at it and planting it. Falling off the top, just one post up there with a safety rail or something.
I certainly looked at the matting, or actually my predecessor looked at the matting. So the Parks Officer that prior to Joe did look at that, and the thought was that it wouldn't take as quickly as you probably would like it to. One of the health and safety issues with it is because it's relatively soft sand, it's been quite enticing for young children to play in there, and deterrent for two things is, one, to keep children off that area and digging it out, which is what they were doing quite a bit of post-Cyclone Gabrielle, but also it then became a little bit of an ad hoc cycle trail. So from the top down onto the Flying Fox, again, bikes were coming down from that shared path down across it.
Yeah, those hazards are all over the place, so holes and stuff. I mean, you put coconut mat on there. Yeah, money's tight, so if we do something for 2,000 to 3,000. I think we should look at it.
I can certainly go back and, I didn't look at it individually, so I'll go back and have a look at that.
I'd rather spend the money elsewhere. We can get a cheaper solution.
Yep, sure. I'll certainly go back and have a look at it.
Yeah. I'd like that.
Okay, that's noted, thank you.
And just one further comment to congratulate on
Okay, so we finished with that. We can ask the staff to stand down. Now we can move to the statement. Mary Ann?
Yeah.
Would you like to make a statement?
No, I think we're grateful. It's been a good period of time and things are going well, and noted the Mayor's recent comment about
Second statement. Would you like to make one?
No, I think that's been reversed.
Okay, it's all good. Okay, any other members wish to speak?
I've got one thing I want to bring up. I noticed in there that we talked about the Bowl Bash event. And I wondered if we can add in there, you know, it was quite a successful event from what I saw with the activities that were going on there, you know, and then the sailing and the waka armour that they had down there as well, but all came back to supporting Maz and working through there. You know, they had the museum and the Dairy Trust and all that there with Matua Ben Hita opening up and a few representatives from Te Uriaho that were extremely good thing to do, and being able to get iwi behind that as well to support it, I think is huge, because they're going to be your best friends going forward, I believe, in anything that you want to do around here.
Certainly second those comments. I think it was excellent because of the very tight planning.
Yeah.
But we did have a lot of communication across all the organisations within the Mangawhai Community Park, and I think the outcome was very good, and obviously
it could connect in a little bit better with Bowl Bash for next year, you know, and I think, you know, there was only a couple of days between it.
Yeah.
Linking that all together, I think, would be a huge advantage here, you know, having something like that all linked together over a period of time as
A bigger planning group.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whole, the events that are happening.
Yep, at that period, you know, because, you know, while we have the Bowl Bash every year, it's almost like it's just a day and then it's gone. Why aren't we trying to extend it? You look at the food trucks and that, they're all up there, that all did really, really well and really enjoyed it. And you know, they gave free access into the museum to try and encourage people to go through there. And I think that's brilliant. I think, you know, getting that in there, and the Dairying Trust was there, you know, talking about the history of the dairy, you know, all that sort of stuff there that you sort of don't really know about unless you go there and actually be part of it, you know.
exactly. And I think it was and only be built on.
You know, they did very well, and Mel, she said that they actually rang her and congratulated her on a well-run event, which is great. That, you know, at short notice, like you say, someone to pick it up like that and do it. And I guess, you know, you're lucky that with Mel, who's done a lot of event management around the world, someone like that sort of sits and looks in the things in behind it that you need to make it work. You know, I think just, is it worth mentioning it? You know,
absolutely.
It was fantastic. I mean, I went to the regatta.
Yeah.
I had friends and my partner sailed and that with the Learn to Sail crew down there.
Yeah.
And it was just such a great day down there, really great vibe. You had the waka armour. It was just, Mangawhai was buzzing. It was,
I mean, and that's another one, getting waka armour at short notice, you know, Winton, to be able to pull that together, you know. I mean, it's not easy to arrange all that sort of stuff, you know, and then working that stuff around the tide, because the estuary going out, you know, it'd be no good if you got stranded, would it? So,
yeah, but it was a perfect day.
Yeah, it was.
If you could have asked for better weather, I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, you know, obviously, cost to it, and I guess Colin Association being able to source that money from the Ministry of Culture and Heritage, you know, they don't give it out willing. Works, and I think to be able to get funding to support that was great, you know.
The report back, I'm sure, will be excellent.
Yeah, it will be, yeah.
The shortfall was the lack of consultation ahead, because it was
done
quickly, but
quickly, yeah. No, I mean, that will change next year.
To focus on the successful parts of it.
I think, you know, we've demonstrated that it was, and I think for next year they'll have a much bigger lead-in period to consult with council and community, you know, and you know, source funding again from the ministry That would be a huge thing.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to it again next year for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Thanks. Okay, so we have a recommendation, and that is that the Mangawhai Community Park Governance Committee notes the operations and project team update of February 2025. All those in favour, say aye. Update February 2025, and we have Glynis McCarthy to present. I ask for a mover. Thank you, Mary Ann. And a seconder?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
And through the chair, I take it that this report is read and
I think it was all very clear.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
so.
just so that you're aware, typically with a health and safe risk register is, if risks are resolved, then they're taken off the register. So I just try and go through and update this and give you what we're currently doing in terms of our controls. And these controls, those are the adjust if we find that they're not working to our expectations.
That's great. No, thank you for your report, Glynis. You can stand down.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Mary Ann, would you like to make a mover statement?
No, I think again, it's.
And Philip?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so that is that the Mangawhai Community Park Governance Committee notes the Mangawhai Community Park Governance Committee risk update for February 2025. All those in favour, say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Yeah.
So those in favour? I will, today's meeting, and thank you everyone for attending today.
Thank you, Rachel.